Snooker is a game of skill, strategy, and precision. It requires players to have a steady hand, excellent hand-eye coordination, and a deep understanding of angles and spin. But sometimes, even the best players in the world need a bit of luck to win a match. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the luckiest shots in the history of snooker. Let's start with a shot that happened in the 1997 World Championship. The match was between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mick Price, and it was a tense affair. O'Sullivan was trailing by 8 frames to 6, and he needed something special to turn things around. That's when he played one of the luckiest shots in snooker history. O'Sullivan was attempting a difficult pot, and he hit the ball too hard. The ball bounced off the cushion and looked like it was going to go off the table. But at the last moment, it hit another ball and bounced back onto the table, landing perfectly for O'Sullivan to continue his break. The crowd went wild, and even O'Sullivan himself couldn't believe his luck. He went on to win the match 13-11 and later admitted that the lucky shot had given him the confidence he needed to come back and win. Another lucky shot that's worth mentioning happened in the 2003 LG Cup. The match was between Doherty and Paul Hunter, and it was a closely contested affair. Doherty was leading by 3 frames to 2, and he was in the middle of a break when he attempted a difficult shot. He hit the ball too hard, and it bounced off the cushion and looked like it was going to go off the table. But then something miraculous happened. The ball hit another ball, which was just about to fall into a pocket. The second ball bounced back up onto the table and landed perfectly for Doherty to continue his break. It was an incredible stroke of luck, and it left Hunter and the crowd in shock. Doherty went on to win the match 5-3, and he later described the lucky shot as one of the most incredible things he had ever seen on the snooker table. Of course, luck can sometimes go both ways, and that's what happened in the 1991 World Championship. The match was between Jimmy White and Stephen Hendry, and it was a tense affair from the start. White was trailing by 17 frames to 14, and he needed something special to turn things around. That's when he played one of the unluckiest shots in snooker history. White was attempting a difficult pot, and he hit the ball too hard. The ball bounced off the cushion and looked like it was going to go into the pocket. But at the last moment, it hit a piece of chalk that was on the table, causing it to deviate from its course and miss the pocket by a hair's breadth. Hendry went on to win the match 18-14, and White was left to rue his bad luck. Another lucky shot that's worth mentioning happened in the 2010 UK Championship. The match was between Selby and Ronnie O'Sullivan, and it was a closely contested affair. Selby was leading by 9 frames to 8, and he was in the middle of a break when he attempted a difficult shot. He hit the ball too hard, and it bounced off the cushion and looked like it was going to go off the table. But then something incredible happened. The ball hit another ball, which was just about to fall into a pocket. The second ball bounced back up onto the table and landed perfectly for Selby to continue his break. It was an amazing stroke of luck, and Selby went on to win the match 10-9. O'Sullivan was left disappointed, but he later admitted that Selby had deserved to win, even if it had taken a lucky shot to turn the tide of the match. One of the most famous lucky shots in snooker history happened in the 1985 World Championship. The match was between Dennis Taylor and Steve Davis. It was the final of the tournament. The match was tied at 17 frames each, and it all came down to the final frame. Taylor was trailing by 62 points to 44, and he needed to clear the table to win the match. That's when he played the shot that would go down in snooker folklore. Taylor was attempting a difficult pot, and he hit the ball too hard. The ball bounced off the cushion and looked like it was going to go off the table. But at the last moment, it hit another ball and bounced back onto the table, landing perfectly for Taylor to continue his break. He went on to clear the table and win the match, causing commentator Ted Lowe to famously exclaim, "For those of you who are watching in black and white, the pink is next to the green." The shot was not only lucky, but it was also incredibly important. It helped Taylor to win his first and only World Championship title, and it cemented his place in snooker history. Even today, nearly 40 years later, the shot is still talked about and celebrated by fans of the sport. In conclusion, snooker is a game where luck can sometimes play a big role. The shots we've looked at in this script show just how important luck can be in determining the outcome of a match. Whether it's a ball bouncing off another ball or hitting a piece of chalk, sometimes the tiniest things can make all the difference. But at the same time, luck isn't everything. Even the luckiest shots in snooker history wouldn't have mattered if the players hadn't had the skill and talent to capitalize on them. In the end, it's a combination of luck, skill, and strategy that makes snooker such a fascinating and unpredictable sport. As much as luck plays a role in snooker, it's important to note that luck doesn't always favor the same players. There are players who have had their fair share of lucky shots, and there are others who seem to have had the opposite luck. One such player is Jimmy White, who is widely regarded as one of the most talented snooker players of all time, but who has also been dubbed the greatest player never to win the World Championship. White has had a number of near misses in his career, including 6 appearances in the World Championship final, all of which he lost. But it's not just the big tournaments where White has suffered from bad luck. He's had countless matches where he's played incredibly well, only to be beaten by an opponent who got a lucky break. One such match was against Ken Doherty in the 1997 Masters. White was leading 8-2 in the quarterfinal match, and he was well on his way to winning. But then Doherty played a shot that was so lucky it's hard to believe it wasn't divine intervention. Doherty attempted a pot, but he missed the ball completely. However, the cue ball hit a cushion and then bounced back onto the table, hitting the ball that he had missed and potting it. It was a stroke of luck that even Doherty couldn't believe, and it seemed to turn the tide of the match. Doherty went on to win 6 frames in a row, and he eventually won the match 9-8. It's moments like these that make snooker such a fascinating sport to watch. There's always the chance that something unexpected will happen, whether it's a lucky shot or a moment of brilliance from a player. And even though luck can sometimes seem unfair, it's ultimately what makes snooker so unpredictable and exciting. Another player who has had his fair share of lucky shots is Mark Williams. In the 2003 World Championship, Williams was playing against Stephen Hendry in the semifinals. The match was tied at 15 frames each, and it all came down to the final frame. Williams had a chance to win the match, but he missed a pot and left Hendry with an easy chance to clear the table. Hendry had potted 12 reds and 11 blacks, and he was on his way to a maximum 147 break, which would have been his 8th in competitive play. But then something incredible happened. Hendry played a shot that looked perfect, but the cue ball hit a piece of chalk that had fallen onto the table. The chalk deflected the ball off course, and Hendry missed the final black. Williams had been given a second chance, and he went on to win the match and eventually the tournament. There have been many other lucky shots in snooker history, too many to list here. But what's clear is that luck is an essential part of the game, and it's something that all players have to deal with. Whether it's a stroke of good luck or bad luck, it's how players respond to these moments that separates the great from the good. In conclusion, the luckiest shots in snooker history are some of the most memorable moments in the sport. From Dennis Taylor's famous final frame clearance to Mark Selby's incredible fluke shot. These moments remind us that anything can happen in snooker. While luck plays a big role, it's ultimately the skill, talent, and determination of the players that make the sport so exciting to watch. And for every lucky shot, there are countless moments of brilliance that remind us why we love snooker so much. It's important to note that snooker players don't rely solely on luck to win matches. The best players in the world have honed their skills over years of practice and dedication to the sport. They have a deep understanding of the game's mechanics and strategies, which allows them to make shots that seem impossible to the rest of us. But even the most skilled players can't always control the luck factor. One thing that makes snooker unique among sports is that the playing surface is always changing. The cloth on the table can wear down over time, and even a slight change in humidity can affect the way the balls roll. These factors can make shots that would normally be routine much more difficult, and they can also create opportunities for lucky shots. For example, in the 2016 UK Championship final, Mark Selby was playing Ronnie O'Sullivan. Selby was leading 9-5, and he needed just one more frame to win the tournament. O'Sullivan was at the table, and he attempted a long red. The shot looked good, but then something incredible happened. The cue ball bounced off the table and onto the floor, and then it bounced back onto the table and hit the red ball, which then went into the pocket. It was an amazing stroke of luck for O'Sullivan, and it seemed to energize him. He went on to win the frame, and then he won the next 2 frames as well. It looked like O'Sullivan was going to mount a comeback, but Selby managed to regroup and win the final frame to take the title. Luck can also play a role in the mental game of snooker. When a player gets a lucky break, it can give them a boost of confidence and momentum. They may feel like they're playing well, even if they know deep down that luck played a role in their success. On the other hand, a player who gets unlucky can feel deflated and demoralized, even if they've been playing well up to that point. One famous example of this happened in the 2002 World Championship final between Peter Ebdon and Stephen Hendry. Ebdon was leading 17-16 in the final frame, but he had been struggling with his game for much of the match. Hendry was at the table, and he was poised to clear the table and win the match. He had potted 14 reds and 13 blacks, and he just needed to sink the final black to win. But then Hendry missed the shot, and the cue ball went into the pocket. It was a shocking turn of events, and it gave Ebdon a lifeline. He went on to win the match, but he later admitted that the lucky break had affected his opponent. Hendry had been playing flawlessly up to that point, but the missed shot seemed to shake his confidence. In the end, luck is just one factor among many that determine the outcome of the snooker match. The best players in the world understand this, and they know that they need to be prepared for anything. They need to be able to adapt to changing conditions, and they need to be mentally strong enough to weather the ups and downs of the game. But no matter how skilled a player is, there's always the chance that luck will play a role. It's what makes snooker such a thrilling sport to watch, and it's why we'll continue to marvel at the lucky shots that happen from time to time. Another example of a lucky shot that had a significant impact on a match was the one played by Judd Trump in the 2019 World Championship final. Trump was playing against John Higgins, and the match was tied at 16-16. It was the final frame, and the tension was palpable. Trump had potted a red and a black, but he was in a difficult position. The pink ball was surrounded by other balls, and there didn't seem to be a clear path to pot it. But then Trump took a risky shot, aiming for a small gap between two balls. The shot looked like it was going to miss, but then the cue ball hit the pink ball in just the right spot, sending it into the pocket. It was an incredible shot, and the crowd erupted in applause. Trump went on to clear the table and win the match, and the lucky shot played a key role in his victory. Another memorable lucky shot was played by Joe Johnson in the 1986 World Championship final against Steve Davis. Johnson was the underdog in the match, and he was trailing 12-6. But then he pulled off an incredible fluke shot that turned the tide of the match. Johnson was trying to pot a red ball, but he missed it completely. The cue ball hit the cushion and then came back, striking the red ball again. This time, the red ball went into the pocket, and Johnson went on to win the frame. The lucky break seemed to rattle Davis, who had been playing confidently up to that point. Johnson went on to win the match, completing one of the biggest upsets in snooker history. Of course, luck can work both ways. A player who gets lucky on one shot may be unlucky on the next. For example, in the 2017 Welsh Open, Neil Robertson was playing Ronnie O'Sullivan. Robertson had been trailing, but he managed to get back into the match with some impressive play. Then, in the deciding frame, Robertson had a chance to pot the final black and win the match. But the ball rattled in the pocket and stayed out, giving O'Sullivan a reprieve. O'Sullivan went on to win the match, and Robertson was left to ponder what might have been. It was a reminder that luck can be fickle, and that even the best players can't always control the outcome of a match. In conclusion, snooker is a sport that requires a combination of skill, strategy, and luck. The best players in the world have a deep understanding of the game and are able to make shots that seem impossible to the rest of us. But even the most skilled players can't always control the luck factor, and there are times when a lucky shot can change the outcome of a match. Whether it's a fluke shot that rattles an opponent or a lucky break that gives a player momentum, these moments remind us of the unpredictable nature of snooker. They keep us on the edge of our seats and make us marvel at the incredible skill and athleticism of the players. So the next time you're watching a snooker match, keep an eye out for the lucky shots. You never know when one might happen, and it could be the difference between victory and defeat. Furthermore, the element of luck in snooker can add to the drama and excitement of a match, as well as the unpredictability of the game. A player may be down and out, seemingly no chance of coming back, and then one lucky shot can turn the match on its head. It can also create a sense of tension and anticipation as the players and the audience wait to see if the ball will go in or not. One of the most famous lucky shots in snooker history was played by Jimmy White in the 1982 World Championship semifinal against Alex Higgins. White was down 15-14 and needed the last two frames to win the match. In the penultimate frame, he was on the last red and needed to pot it to have a chance of winning. He took a risky shot and missed the red completely, but then something incredible happened. The cue ball hit the cushion, then a red ball, and then another red ball before finally coming to rest near the pocket. White had no idea that he had hit two red balls and thought he had lost the match. But then he realized that he still had a chance to win. He potted the last red and then the black to force a deciding frame. White went on to win the match and eventually reached the final, where he lost to Alex Higgins. However, the lucky shot remains one of the most memorable moments in snooker history. Another example of a lucky shot that changed the course of a match was played by Hendry in the 1994 UK Championship final against Doherty. Hendry was down 8-2 in the match and looked to be heading for defeat. But then he played an incredible fluke shot that turned the match around. Hendry was attempting to pot a red ball, but he missed it completely. The cue ball hit the cushion and then bounced off a blue ball before landing perfectly on a red. Hendry went on to win the frame and won the next 6 frames to take the match 9-8. It was an incredible comeback, and the lucky shot played a key role in Hendry's victory. Luck can also play a role in long-range potting, one of the most difficult shots in snooker. A player may line up a shot, take a deep breath, and hope that the ball goes in. If it does, it can be a game-changer, giving the player momentum and confidence. If it doesn't, it can be demoralizing, especially if the opponent is able to capitalize on the missed opportunity. One memorable long-range pot was played by Ding Junhui in the 2007 Masters final against Marco Fu. Ding was trailing 6-4 and needed to win the next frame to stay in the match. He took a risky shot, attempting to pot a red from a long distance, and the ball went in off the black. The shot gave Ding momentum, and he went on to win the frame and force a deciding frame. In the end, he won the match and the tournament, thanks in part to the lucky shot that turned the tide of the match. Luck can also play a role in safety shots, where a player attempts to leave the cue ball in a difficult position for the opponent. A player may attempt a safety shot, hoping that the cue ball will come to rest in a spot that makes it difficult for the opponent to make a shot. If the ball lands in just the right spot, it can be a stroke of luck that can change the course of the match. One example of a lucky safety shot was played by Mark Selby in the 2017 World Championship semifinal against Ding Junhui. Selby was attempting to play a safety shot, but he hit the ball too hard, and it looked like the cue ball was going to end up in the middle of the table, leaving Ding with an easy shot. However, the cue ball hit the top cushion and then bounced off two other balls before coming to rest in a perfect snooker position behind a yellow ball. The shot was unexpected, and Ding was unable to make a legal shot on his next turn. Selby went on to win the frame in the match, thanks in part to the lucky safety shot that turned the tide of the match. While luck can play a significant role in snooker, it is important to note that it is not the only factor that determines the outcome of a match. Skill, experience, and mental fortitude are all essential components of successful snooker play. However, the element of luck adds to the excitement and drama of the game, making it one of the most thrilling sports to watch. In conclusion, snooker is a sport that requires a great deal of skill and precision. However, luck can also play a significant role in determining the outcome of a match. From long-range pots to fluke shots and lucky safety shots, there have been many examples of luck changing the course of snooker history. While luck can be unpredictable, it adds to the excitement and drama of the game, creating unforgettable moments that fans will remember for years to come.